All right, let's get right into it. Today we're going to talk about something that can seriously make or break a technical leadership interview, and that's the small details in how you speak. We're going to cover 4 simple tools that will help you sound just as confident and precise as your code.
So, think about it. You've got the skills, you've got the experience, you know your stuff inside and out. But when you're in that high-stakes interview, did your language actually reflect all that expertise? That's the big question we're tackling today.
You know, for leadership roles, it's really not just about what you did. Interviewers are listening for something more. They're listening for clarity, for precision, for confidence. The way you put your sentences together sends this powerful subconscious signal about how you structure your thoughts.
Okay, let's dive into our first tool. This is all about showing that structured thinking. It's a way to add extra valuable information into your sentences really smoothly without tripping over your words or breaking your flow. Honestly, it's a total game changer for sounding polished.
So here's the deal with this. When you're adding a little extra flavor to a sentence, information that's interesting but isn't absolutely essential to know what you're talking about, you wrap it in commas. And the key is, you use which for things and who for people. Never, ever use that in this situation.
Let's look at this side by side. It makes it super clear. On the left, the test suite that we built last year. That phrase is essential. It tells us which test suite you mean. But look at the right. Our test suite which we built last year. See, we already know it's our test suite. The part in the commas is just extra context. This version, with the commas and which, is what adds that professional detail.
And here it is in a perfect interview sentence. You've already identified the person, my manager. That little bit you tuck inside the commas, who had a background in both development and testing, that's the magic. It adds such rich context about them and makes your story way more compelling.
Okay, on to our second tool. And this one is a classic trip up for so many people. But I promise you, once you get these 3 little words right, you sound incredibly sharp, especially when you're talking about your team and the people you've worked with. This right here, this is the only cheat sheet you will ever need for this. The secret is all in that quick test column. If you can replace the word in your sentence with he or she, you use who. If his or her fits, it's whose. And if him or her works, you need whom. It's really that simple. Here's a great example of whose in action. Think about it. You're talking about the approach that belonged to the team lead, his approach. Since his fits, whose is the perfect, precise word to use. It's a small detail that just sounds so right. All right, tool number 3. Now this one might seem really basic, but trust me, using your articles an, and the correctly when you talk about job titles is such a subtle but powerful signal of fluency and professionalism. The logic is pretty straightforward. You use a when you're one of several people with that title, like I was a QA lead. You use the when you're talking about a specific, one-of-a-kind role, like I reported to the head of QA. And if you're just talking about a profession in general, you drop the article completely and use the plural, like software testers need to be detail-oriented. This is one of the most common mistakes out there. It's a tiny detail, but leaving out that little a can sound really jarring. But the fix is so easy, and it instantly makes you sound more polished. He is a designer. Perfect. And on to our final tool. This one is all about how you describe outcomes and situations. It's absolutely crucial for when you need to talk about the impact of your work, and you want to do it accurately. So here's the main thing to remember. Verbs like seem, feel, or become aren't really action words. They're more like connectors. They're like an equal sign in grammar. They link the subject of your sentence to a word that describes it. And because they're describing the subject, which is a person, place, or thing, they have to be followed by an adjective, not an adverb. And here are some of the most common ones you'll probably use in an interview. So whenever you use one of these words, just let a little flag go up in your head that says, okay, what comes next should be an adjective.
Let's look at this in action. It's just wrong to say, the process seemed difficultly. You're not describing how it was seeming. You're describing the process itself. The process was what? The process was difficult. So, the process seemed difficult. The adjective is the only right choice.
And this is exactly how you use it to show your impact. The codebase became what? It became stable. Stable is an adjective, and it's describing the codebase. This structure is the perfect way to clearly and correctly explain the positive results you got.
So, we've looked at all 4 tools one by one. Now, for the fun part,
Let's see how they all come together to create a truly impressive, fluent, and totally professional interview answer.
Just listen to how this flows. First, you get that non-defining clause with which, adding detail about the team. Then, boom, the perfect use of whose to talk about the tech lead's background. Next up, the linking verb proved is followed correctly by the adjective efficient to describe the impact. And to finish it off, a perfect whom referring to the product manager. See? That is the sound of leadership and clarity.
And that's really what this is all about. This isn't just about passing some grammar quiz. It's about using language as a tool to project the kind of confidence and attention to detail that really defines a great technical leader.
So, as we wrap this up, I'll just leave you with this question to think about. Beyond grammar, what are the other subtle signals, whether it's in code or in a design doc or just how you talk, that separate the true experts from everyone else? Something worth thinking about. Thanks for joining me.